TipRanks presents Tip Talks, the only podcast where you can listen to the insights, discover the trends, and power up your investment portfolio. Investors, welcome back to Tip Talks, a brand new podcast brought to you by TipRanks, a market-leading stock research platform in which we're delivering through on all of the insights that you're going to need as an investor. Now, we usually have a guest on the podcast with me, but today I'm actually flying solo. I wanted to jump on here with all of you to deliver through on some pertinent news. Reason being is because I think in every which direction we look right now in terms of news headlines, we are looking at a very fearful market. Of course, I wanted to run through some of these headlines with you. I have them pulled up here. CNBC, Dow loses more than 400 points and goes negative for 2023 as interest rate hike spikes. Then we have another one here from the Wall Street Journal, Stock Market News, October 3rd here. Dow falls more than 400 points. Bond yields march higher. Another one from CNBC out just a couple hours ago. Dow slides to begin October even as Congress staves off a government shutdown, which we just dealt with a few days ago. Of course, there was a lot of fear about that shutdown. And if you had joined us here on the podcast, we were talking about how it would most likely be averted. Very, very few times in the U.S. history have we actually had an official government shutdown. But of course, we are here when it comes to all the stock market news and how this type of news could be impacting you. Again, we're getting a lot of fear. I want to move on to one more here for you. We have Kevin McCarthy was actually ousted. And now what will that bring about? Again, probably more fear as uncertainty is likely to build. Now, rolling out into the remainder of this week, we actually need to talk about August job openings here, as we just got an August job openings report that topped 9.6 million job openings. Now, what does that essentially mean for the retail investor who's out there? Well, in basically layman's terms, we have a very robust labor market. Now, this is all actually what I want to talk about very briefly with you all, because we are right now living in a, I think, very fearful market. A lot of market participants are running in the opposite direction, which, of course, if you've been investing for some time, you would know that times like right now when the market is just red every which way we look, it is the time to actually get invested. Of course, if you have your platform ready to go, whether it's TipRanks or if you're looking anywhere else, I want to urge you all to begin doing due diligence now and run towards the stock market. Start to invest. Probably an investment suggestions here that you won't hear anywhere else. And now I'm sharing that with you because there are certainly opportunities that are out there, a couple of which I want to get to in just a hot second here. I want to go ahead and jump onto TipRanks with all of you and go over to our stock screener, because this should be a tool that you should be using as an investor every single day. Whether you have purchased TipRanks as a premium member or ultimate member, or if you're just using it as a basic user, your stock screener will be the tool of choice for you, whether the market is up, down, or anything there in the middle. Reason being is because we're going to go ahead and filter through thousands of stock opportunities that are out there in order to understand which ones would be best for our portfolios. Now, why are we doing that at a time like right now when I just mentioned all the news headlines that are coming out and making a lot of us investors very fearful? Well, pretty simple. When the streets are full of fear, right, we as investors get the opportunities that we have now in front of us. As long as we're really sticking to stocks that really meet three pieces of criteria. I personally like to call them the Buffett pieces of criteria. But the first piece I'm going to give to you right now is essentially those businesses that are out there with strong brand names. So businesses that have been around, they've built themselves a nice reputation. Warren Buffett would call this a very moat-worthy business. Then you also want to look for businesses that actually have great, standout, exceptional leadership teams. Now, that's management that is doing their job day in and day out. And of course, whether the market is up or down, they are leading through on exactly what they need to keep doing. Again, it goes hand in hand with a strong brand name, right? To go through the trials and tribulations of the stock market, you certainly need good leadership. And last but not least, you want to have businesses in your portfolio, especially right now, but again, forever as an investor, that have clean balance sheets, so little to no debt. Why is all that important? Because as we keep getting all of these headlines that are packed with fear, and really to kind of pull you in and read those articles, right? We are at TipRanks also creating a lot of articles for you to consume, as a retail investor. And one thing that we make very clear here at TipRanks is we want you to be in the know about everything that we produce here, and we want you to go ahead and find the stock opportunities. So for us, it's not really about creating, right, these news headlines that are full of fear for you. It's more so that we want to create the articles that are going to bring you in and allow you to see that despite all the fear that's out there, you can invest successfully, and of course find stocks for your portfolio. So let's go back here into this stock screener that we have at TipRanks. And if you're familiar with TipRanks, you know that we have a bunch of different filters that you can put onto the stock screener for yourself. The first of which is the market cap filtration here, that we can go ahead and sort through the stocks with mega, large, medium, small, and micros that are there. We want to go ahead and check off mega, large, and medium. I want to head over to actually the little area here where it says insider signals, and then as well as hedge fund signals. We want to make sure that those are positive. Reason being is because right now, while the retail investors out there are full of fear, we have insiders who are buying. We have hedge funds that are buying. You want to invest really like the Wall Street elites. I'm assuming if you're looking to profit here at the end of the year and moving into 2024, right, it is not about running away. It's about running into the market here. So join the Wall Street elites. We do that by the insider signals with insiders and hedge funds. Last but not least, here on the lower part of the screen, you see an area in which it says top analyst price targets. And we do have the ability here to filter through all of these stocks with just the price target upside, but I like to go one further. I always like to say invest with the best top analyst price targets. We want to make sure that we have upside potential here of 20%, upside potential of 10 to 20%, both checked off. And now we have, instead of thousands and thousands of stocks, we actually have stocks here that are in front of us, 8 total that are on my screen as we speak, and one of which is actually Lockheed Martin. I want to jump into this stock with you real quick and understand why Lockheed actually might be a pretty sound buy, to which just the other day we actually had a news article on TipRanks come out about Lockheed. Again, not one to trap you into that fear mindset, but one to get you into the investor mindset, the most important mindset that you can be in. Here we are with Lockheed Martin. So not to scare you, Lockheed Martin right now is down 13.7% on the year. But let's just go a little bit backwards here, right? Look at the stock in terms of the last 5 years. Over the last 5 years, Lockheed Martin has over 31% of growth. Now, that is outstanding. And of course, if you know anything about Lockheed Martin, I like to say it's one of the most dominant defense contractors out there, with their largest client being none other than Uncle Sam, the U.S. government. We all know the U.S. government is constantly upgrading the military, right, and always spending. And just to actually put some terms on that for you, we can go ahead and look directly into Lockheed Martin news. As of recent, we have Lockheed Martin awarded a $746.27 million Navy contract. We also have another one here. Lockheed Martin awarded a $1.2 billion Navy contract. And then we have another. Just in the last week alone, Lockheed Martin awarded another $175.9 million modification contract deal with the U.S. Navy. So this is certainly a company that you want to look into and really understand what's happening, what's at play, and what does Lockheed Martin have really going for it. Well, right now, where you have a lot of governments that aren't necessarily spending on defense, right? That it may not be a war on a battlefield, but it is certainly a war being fought on an economic front. So here's an interesting spin. I want you all to think about where we could be in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out. And it's very likely that the environment which we're living in right now, which all these headlines, the news headlines, have us, grappled with, from, interest rates that are likely or could rise, right, in the coming future, for being higher and prolonged for well into 2024. We had Jamie Dimon just share the other day when he was with a news pundit there on CNBC that he foresees interest rates could come out a little higher here, and how could this all impact us? The key here is to look at quality businesses, look well into the future, ask ourselves those questions regardless of what's happening in our economic environment today. As a long-term investor, which is what we're doing, right? Finding businesses to invest in, to become as if we are the business owners. Where could we be in 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years out? Now, chances are when it comes to a play like Lockheed Martin, they're experiencing volatility. Of course they are, as we saw year to date, down 13.7%. But I want to go ahead and share something with you unique here. We did have our insider signals turned on, and I just want to share this one last fact with you. Corporate insiders placed informative buys of shares worth $250,000 just within the last couple of months, which is really important to note because those were informative buys made by executives and director level insiders. So if they have pieces of information at their fingertips, we're seeing news day in and day out with these Navy contracts, Army contracts coming out signed by the U.S. government and Lockheed Martin. Again, think longer term. Don't be taken back here by all the news articles. Go in, do your due diligence. You can go into TipRanks right now onto that stock screener and filter out thousands of stocks to get to the ones that are perfect for your portfolio. Not to mention, as a personal dividend investor myself, Lockheed is a dividend investment as well. So you get a nice little chunk of change, not only on share price appreciation, but the dividends. Now, investors, there you have it. Another go-round here of Tip Talks for you. Think about the news, everything that's coming out right now this week. We're going to conclude the week with an employment report, and chances are we're going to get more volatility as these days come about. Want you all to be aware of that. Don't fear it. Embrace it. With that, until the next Tip Talk, investors, I will see you all there. TipRanks presents Tip Talks, the only podcast where you can listen to the insights, discover the trends, and power up your investment portfolio.